welcome to the AI Bots podcast. I'm Chazzy.
I'm Dan Clark.
And I am Ali Mitchell.
And we've had a weekend away up at GPLEX, haven't we? We've been on our holidays.
Yeah, on the summer holidays, but no Cliff Richard, though.
No. And, we had ourselves a lovely time up there. Met, like, a lot of people that we've met before and a lot of new people. And a massive thank you to Alex Shaw, Sharon Shaw, and Giles Thomas for, like, organising the event and getting us all up there. It was
amazing.
And you got something really sweet in the charity auction. Man,
I bidded on a Game & Watch, a Mario Brothers Game & Watch, which is like in perfect condition. It's like mint. And so what I ended up doing, I went in pretty high pretty quickly with the price, but what I wanted to do is I've now got it. I've bought some oak frames, drilled them together so that there's two together, so it makes a nice deep frame. And I've actually framed my Game & Watch, and I've got it on the wall now, and it looks amazing. It's just sort of flickering away on the attract screen. Just hung up on my wall, just above my toilet.
Have you got a hammer next to it so you can smash glass in case of boredom?
Yeah, in case you're bored on the toilet, smash glass.
Yeah. People. There were a couple of bits that I really wanted to bid on, but I knew I'd never be able to stretch to what it was going to go for.
Yeah.
But people ended up with some really lovely things. And Midge Master of the Game Burst podcast was actually quite restrained in his bidding this year.
He didn't put himself really in the hole this year. That was quite impressive.
And that guy we met, Nick,
yes,
he ended up with a nice little haul of geeky stuff as well, didn't he?
Yes, mate, yes, definitely.
Yeah, so a fantastic time had by all.
Yeah.
But anyway...
you need to stop, man. Making me jealous. Like, unfortunately couldn't make it, so it's a shame to hear everyone got a nice wee haul from that.
Anyway, we've got stuff to be getting on with, really, because... by the time you hear this, Microsoft have announced the new Xbox, the Xbox One.
Yeah, what a weird name.
Yeah, I quite like it. When that first came up, I thought... Yeah, I quite like that in a weird way.
The first thing I thought of was like, wow, that's got to be like a search engine optimization nightmare. You know, for everyone who's like, you know, trying to sell original Xboxes and bits and pieces for that, it's gonna be hideous, isn't it?
See, it makes you think of those technical reasons. To me, it's quite deep. It's like Xbox One, like it's one with everything. It is, you know, everything is inside it. It's as one. It's
Zen,
one,
man.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that there will be confusion with that first Xbox though, because even just trying to search for it yesterday. Now I know this is the first day that stuff's going to have gone online.
Yeah.
But people do seem to refer to Xbox Original, as Microsoft wants to call it, or Xbox, as the Xbox One. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's
what I want to know is like if they carry on with this numbering system, if this is the new canonical numerical system for Xbox, when in like for our great however many greats grandchildren, like further than busted in the year 3000, this is going to be like towards the end of the 4000s. Are they going to skip from the Xbox 359 to the Xbox 361 so people don't get confused?
Yeah, possibly.
Although I suppose if they're using 2 years after the original Xbox One, they're really not going to be bothered, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we've all watched the conference, and how did you guys feel about it? I'm kind of in two minds, really.
Yeah, I thought it was very much evolution rather than revolution. Very much. It was just a little. I thought it was a bit lazy, to be honest with you. It was just a bit of kind of. Here's what we were already doing, but ever so slightly better. Yeah,
in a different box.
Yeah, and I didn't really see it's like here's Call of Duty, here's Madden, here's Forza, and it was kind of like right. Here's
also, it was half an hour before we even got to see any of the games.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But it just felt to me like right. Here's everything we normally do, slightly shinier. Right. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys, and see you later. It wasn't really kind of anything like that all that special.
See, to me. When it first opened and they said it's going to be the Xbox One and then they actually showed the console, I thought the fact that they were showing a console means like it was like a kind of FU to Sony and Nintendo.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to show what we've got. But then they proceeded to spend most of the conference talking about how you can watch TV through your Xbox.
Yeah, it was aimed at a very kind of mid to casual crowd, you know?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's aimed at the gamers market anymore so much. Like, is that...
Well, it's not a term we hear much over here, but certainly, the kind of jock market with the amount of sports that they mentioned as well. You know, they really do seem to be going for that. Yeah. That jock sporty market.
Also, they're going to, I'm guessing they're going to follow suit with, the Madden fantasy football stuff that they're implementing. Well, the NFL fantasy football stuff. I'm guessing they're going to do that with, say, like the Premier League over here, possibly in conjunction with Sky, because they've already got tie-ups with Sky. I'm guessing they've already got all the deals in place to be able to do that in the UK and Europe as well, haven't they? So
yeah, exactly. So
and maybe with Sumo in Japan, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, exactly.
So, are there any other games there that you're actually looking forward to?
I didn't really see that much of the games. I mean, it's sort of like I said, it was all stuff that we've all seen. Or the only interesting one was that, what was it, Quantum
Break?
Yeah.
That
looked quite interesting, only from the fact that it was like full motion video, then dropping back into game footage. And I wonder if that's like the hook of that game. It's going to be kind of part film, part game.
It's Night Trap 2, basically.
Right, okay. Maybe, possibly.
Well, with the amount of times that they said TV, as soon as they said the word quantum, I mean, we all wanted Quantum Leap, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. See, I made a joke of that on Twitter, but when they first said Quantum Break, my mind automatically thought, oh my god, a Quantum Leap game. Like, I thought it was going to be like a Telltale episodic, like Back to the Future, the game.
Did you think, oh boy?
Yeah, I did. I actually tweeted those words.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it was maybe not quite what we were expecting, but I think we could probably have said the same after the Wii U announcement and the PlayStation 3 announcement.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different way of doing marketing these days, isn't it? It's very much a drip feed, because you have to keep things safe from the internet's prying eyes, I suppose, if you want to keep any of your industrial secrets safe. So,
for all that you're saying, each conference took us by surprise. I mean, they took us by surprise in different ways, though. Like at the Sony one, we never expected to see quite so many games, perhaps. And then at the Xbox one, I mean, there weren't really any games, were there? I mean, Forza 5, FIFA,
no, exactly.
Call of Duty.
And also, every announcement has like a shiny Cars trailer somewhere, doesn't it? So of course it was going to be in there.
But it did seem
what.
As though they were leaning on their brand incredibly heavily without actually showing anything. And it just seemed to me that they were Sony kind of was targeting the hardcore gamer, whereas Microsoft was, like you were saying, was kind of covering that kind of jock casual market, like to get new people in. And it was kind of, they were targeting multiplayer while Sony was targeting, like the single player. And that was what I saw the balance of out of those two conferences now, looking back on it.
See, I think it's sort of, well, not the opposite. I'm not saying Microsoft aren't going for the multiplayer, but I think Sony definitely sort of flexed their muscles at Microsoft in terms of multiplayer.
Yeah.
But then I suppose that server number with all the Microsoft staff cheering at the back, 300,000 servers, woo woo!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like for all that you're saying, maybe Sony's more single player focused. I mean, a single player focused community is, it's not necessarily a bad thing as long as it's still a good community.
No, exactly. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all plays out.
It will also be interesting to see how this used game fee plays out as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's the one thing that's going to really put me off, because I do a lot of kind of renting of games and stuff, and that's where I get most of my games from. Now, if I've got to pay a rental fee and then an unlock fee on top of that, then I just won't pick an Xbox up.
Well, those companies aren't going to rent out games for the Xbox One if that's the case. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
Because
but then
Phil Harrison has said that if it's a new game, and you do rent new games, sometimes you get them on day one, right?
Yeah.
He said that if it's a new game, it's going to be the actual full on-demand price that you pay,
which is madness,
for that unlock. Exactly. It makes the rental pointless. It makes the disc pointless.
Yeah.
And I know making the disc pointless is their end goal. That's the end game for all of them. But to have done it this quickly in one fell move is quite frightening, really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I just, like I say, it's going to be the one thing that I'm really going to keep a close eye on, because, like I say, I use these rental services all the time. So if they're going to go that way, then I'm just not going to pick one up. It's as simple as that. And they might be shooting themselves in the foot. The other thing as well is maybe they're actually doing that so they can create their own rental services and their own kind of in-house thing, trading backwards and forwards, and they're therefore cutting out that entire market completely and keeping it for themselves and keeping the revenue from that for themselves.
Do you mean just like, their equivalent of PS Plus, another subscription service on top of Xbox Live?
Yeah, it'd be like Xbox Live trading service, or whatever. And then you would actually do it all online through a dashboard service. And because everything's installed to your hard drive anyway, it would just delete it from your hard drive and get rid of it, and then put that up on a pre-owned online store for someone to then pick up, So there's always a ticker going around of like, there's X amount of these games pre-owned online.
The sticky problem is that when you're selling it back to them, how can they justify that being worth? Like, their argument is that there's no such thing as a used game because you're paying for the license, and it doesn't. Like, it's not that you get wear and tear other than disc scratches, but for a digital copy you don't get that, so you can't trade discs like a physical product.
No.
But then why should you then give me less when I trade my copy into you?
Exactly.
Do you see what? Like, it's going to cause all sorts of ramifications, man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Do you remember that European Court ruling last year? I think we spoke about it briefly on the show, where the European Court have said that users do have the right to trade licenses. Now, they're going to have a system in place where you can trade it sort of within their internal system.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
I think the way the European Court meant it is that no, you have the right to trade those amongst like other people.
Yeah, outside
of that system. Yeah, which I don't think is going to work. So it'd be interesting to see how it fits in with the European Court's ruling.
Yeah, totally.
Well, you have to imagine that Microsoft have looked at that and they've got a plan, some sort of clause somewhere that gets them out of it. I mean, they wouldn't be that naive to go against European courts at the moment, would they?
We'll find out at E3, won't we?
Also, it almost feels like all of this stuff is built purely to fit that European ruling. Like, imagine someone pushes that test case in the States, which hasn't really been done yet. Like, say, Activision's like service agreements say that you can't sell on the product afterwards. Now, we all know you can get a second-hand copy of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And in Europe, it's illegal for them to say that you can't sell that on. So if someone pushes that in America and it hasn't really been tested yet, maybe it's been built to sort of future-proof for those kind of laws. So, I mean, there is other stuff we can cover, but should we wait for the dust to settle a bit?
Yeah, mate, totally. Yeah.
Once we know a bit more concrete detail. But the fact that possibly the biggest thing that we can take from this is that it's all very unclear is probably not the best product announcement that you can go for, is it?
No, exactly. It did fall quite flat.
Although there were lots of dogs. Ali, I think you can tell us exactly how many dogs, is that correct?
Well, there was one dog, and they actually only mentioned the word dog twice. This is where the geek in me kind of comes out a bit. I counted how many times they said various words. TV was said 42 times, television 9 times, sports 17, and Call of Duty 29. So
really ramming that brand home then. Yeah.
I bet games is fewer than the number of times they said TV or television.
Well, it's just, 42 times to say TV isn't enough. They had to get another 9 televisions in.
Yeah.
Also, that dog's done very well for like only a couple of showings on screen and 2 mentions of the word dog. He seems to have been the meme that people have taken from the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's got his own Twitter feed and everything.
I wonder, people saying, oh wow, they've motion captured a dog. I'd love it if it was a bloke in a dog suit that they've motion captured, like Barkley from Sesame Street or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, they seem to be taking credit for inventing the dog, but we know that Peter Molyneux invented the dog in Fable, so...
Yeah, exactly.
They're sort of,
So yeah, we're going to bone up on all the dog news that's come out of yesterday, and if you want to do the same, you can press pause on the podcast and go and check it all out yourself. But other than that, we're going to sort of have a read up on everything and wait until we know a few more firm answers and come back to this next time, do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, not really time for any more news. Shall we crack on with the show?
Yes, mate, let's get to the first break.
Do it.
Break.
that's us back from our break. It's time for what you've been playing, but it's going to be a little bit different this week because, well, you guys went to GPLEX, didn't you? So I imagine you've been playing something a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We played all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah, we were actually in the same room playing games, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, rather than just like online. Which,
yeah, exactly.
I think that's probably true for a lot of the GPLEX people, isn't it? Like,
yeah, man.
There are these few get-togethers every year that you meet up with the people, and at Eurogamer, you're not like playing games on you're not playing on people's actual Xboxes with their collection of games that they've brought with them. Do you know what I mean? You're playing the next new games.
Yeah. I imagine at GPLEX you're not having to queue either.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
a massive difference. So yeah, we started off. I think the two of us played Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah.
Was that the first game we played?
That was it. Yeah. That was weird because it was like on fighting sticks, which I've never used before on a fighting game. So that was like a kind of revelatory experience for me because it was just like, oh my god, I've got to get one of these.
The arcade experience at home, but GPLEX.
It made it feel so much better. Playing I'm rubbish at fighting games, but I actually felt like by the time Dan had basically pummeled me into the ground 1,000 times, that I was actually getting a handle on being able to play it properly. And
also, in a way, it was a leveler because I'm used to playing on a pad, so
yeah.
it kind of leveled it a bit that you were getting like decent wins against me as well. So
yeah, I was starting to get better and better as we played more and more games. And then
because neither of us had played it ever before, and I know it's kind of an extrapolation of Street Fighter 4, which we both have played, but it is different, especially when you've got the Tekken characters. Because we were playing like random, like after the first go where we picked which character we wanted.
We all just basically picked Ken and Ryu just to like sort of get our bearings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And the next time we were like, right, should we go random? And it was like, random characters.
Yeah, random.
And then we were getting Tekken characters that you have to play in the style of Street Fighter, but kind of a bit like Tekken. And it was like, oh, this is weird. Right.
Yeah, it felt really odd, but like you say, it was a really good leveler. So we just ended up picking the characters that no one knew.
And I suppose after 20 minutes, we were kind of getting it. Like, we played it for quite a long while, to be fair, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a good thing as well, like being up at GPLEX. Like, you just get time to spend with whatever you want to get time with, you know? It's like no one hassles you to get off and, I want to play this. It's like people just swap in and swap out, and you get so much time to, like, test stuff out. It's quality.
So, testing stuff out, man. You'd never played Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, right?
Well, that was the thing. It's like, you said, oh, no, you've got to play this because it's brilliant. I'm like, right, it's a kart racing game based on Sonic. Come on, it can't be all that. And
then I did my usual tangent thing of like, no, like they got a guy who made Blur on board, like one of the old Project Gotham guys. It's really good.
That sort of like really sold it to me. So I was like, okay, fine, like let's give it a go. And do you know what? It's absolutely amazing. For what I thought would be like some kind of throwaway generic kart racer, feels really good. Feels really solid. Like the driving physics and stuff are really excellent.
Have you got it or played it, Ali?
I haven't. No, I want to. I've played the first one on Wii, but not this sequel. Is it really fast game? Because if anything, I wanted the first one to be faster, and obviously it's Sonic. So
have you played Blur?
I played the demo. So
it's essentially that. But, exactly. Yeah. No, not that Blur.
Park Life.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not got Phil Daniels. It just pops up and he's the little player on the back of the car, just narrating your driving as you're going around. But no, he's. What was I going to say? Yeah, so it feels like Blur that's been reskinned. You know, the weight of the vehicles is very sort of real world as opposed to being so out there and kind of crazy and floaty like most other games.
Even though, ironically, I mean, the vehicles themselves are quite out of world.
That's the thing, is the actual skin on it and like the whole sort of transforming element of, like you'll be just driving along, all of a sudden you'll hit a section of water and you just transfer into like a hovercraft or something and go flying across the water. But everything feels really, really, really good. You know, really well tuned.
And again, Sumo Digital, like they made the conversions of Outrun 2, so they know their racing games.
They know their stuff, man. But like, there's like all the water bits feel like Wave Race. All the kind of flying bits, I don't know.
Feel like Diddy Kong Racing 64.
I was going to say that. Yeah, they feel like Diddy Kong, and like all the racing bits feel like Blur, and it's just like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Like,
also, the tracks are proper like nostalgia-tastic.
Well, it's like that Golden Axe track that we were doing.
Yeah,
and stuff like
and
that.
Like, Shinobi, like going around, like admittedly it's the PS2 Shinobi, which I wish it was the 8-bit one, but they're not going to have an 8-bit track in the game, are they?
No,
I suppose. But yeah, just the variety of it. There's like a lot going on. The Knights cart is really creepy though, because it looks like Knights has been like engineered by like some, I don't know, Nazi scientists to be a car. Do you know what I mean? Like, grim. But
yeah.
But other than that, it's like just this lovely, happy game with all the bright Sega colours and.
Yeah, so it really it has that real sort of blue sky Sega feel about it, and kind of just wacky and fun, but also with a, like I say, with a quality feel to it, the actual driving physics and stuff. I was totally blown away by it. I'm
sure I saw a video a while back of the Panzer Dragoon level, and it did look stunning for that game. It makes you really wish they were just making another Panzer Dragoon, I suppose, because the architecture of the world and the way it looks, it would be incredible in this day and age.
Yeah, exactly.
But what console were you playing this on? Just because I hear that the Wii U version of this, Sonic game is the best one, and that you don't hear that very often about the Wii U.
Yeah, it was on 360, the one we played. Okay. But we did end up sort of finding what we think might be a bug in the game, which was as you finish a game of local multiplayer, it's supposed to spit you back out to like a leaderboard or whatever. And it just crashes, hard locks the machine.
Completely black screen. We couldn't go to the home screen or anything.
Couldn't hit guide, nothing. So
I don't know if it wasn't online and it was trying to connect to something. But
so every time we played a race, we'd have to restart the whole Xbox and then start again, which was getting really frustrating.
So even consoles which don't have to be always online still don't work. Basically, yeah.
Cool.
But you're right, man. The Wii U version is apparently like slightly better frame rate and like just holds up a bit tighter. But I've been playing it mostly on the Vita. Like I had an advantage and yet kept losing, but that's because Chazzy is like racing game extraordinaire. But yeah, on the Vita, Chaz, I think you'd really like that because on that screen, imagine how the colours pop.
I was going to say on that OLED screen, that must be amazing.
Yeah, damn right. I'll post you that, man.
Yeah, definitely do that. But yeah, so what else did we play? Oh, we got into that the Console Ninjas sort of gaming tournament that they were doing, and they had this wonderful thing where you'd pick a game and from one pot, and then there'd be sheets of paper, like torn up paper, in another pot. And then you'd pick a modifier, so you could be playing stuff like, like we had, where it was there was Street Fighter being played with oven mitts on, so you couldn't actually get to the controls properly. Or like the one I had was playing Trials Evolution blindfolded. So I had there was me and Alex Shaw sitting there, basically completely blindfolded, with Jay Stokes behind us screaming, faster, slower, up a bit, down a bit, move, lean over the bike. And it's like, oh my God. People would pay good money for this in some kind of like dodgy sex dungeon.
Jace was in his army element with that, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like, faster, slower, faster.
And move and fire, and move and fire. And
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was hilarious. That was really, really good fun.
I think good fun. This is probably like my Rain Man shit coming out, man. But I think the games were 1942 Joint Strike, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Trials Evo, Tetris. Is it Splash?
Yeah,
is that what it's called? There's some random word afterwards that doesn't really mean much. Yeah. And then it was like you say, like there was oven gloves, having to hold the pad upside down. That's an evil one.
What was the one that they were playing where they had to do it one-handed?
Yeah, there's one-handed. See, the idea was that to prove that you're a true ninja, you have to be able to do all these games while missing certain functions.
Yeah.
And like the guys were very proud of the fact, and they'll tell us off if we don't say this, that they weren't just bits of paper in a glass, they were ninja scrolls.
Oh, right, okay. They were bits of the rolled up paper in a glass to me. Sorry, lads.
No, they were definitely ninja scrolls because they told me about 5 or 6 times. So I think they must be ninja scrolls.
I missed that detail. I apologise.
I got cruelly taken out in the semi-finals by James Batchelor at 1942 Joint Strike with oven gloves, nice. Which I think he's been practising that, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? He actually does that anyway. Time.
Yeah.
Either that or he's so addicted to 1942 Joint Strike that even when he's cooking, he just goes and has like a quick little go. Like, yeah. So that was, and I cheated in the first round, or not cheated.
Oh, but it comes out now.
No, they had one thing in there called Lady Luck was one of the modifiers. Which meant there were no modifiers included. So I cheated by playing someone with glasses at Tetris. Like, so maybe I had a slight advantage of sight. So yeah, that was my sneaky buy to the next round.
Nice.
And then you got caught up in. Now, I've never played this.
I got I got roped into the longest game of a board game I've ever played in my life, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people play it before, and it lasts like an hour and a half.
Well, yeah.
Wow, you got involved in an epic strategy battle on Space Hulk.
Yes, mate. Yeah, got never played Space Hulk before in my life, and kind of Giles Thomas, kind of who was running the game, said, "Oh, you got to play it. I tell you what, you're a newbie like to this kind of thing. You play the monsters, and the other guys will play the Space Marines." And there was like 2 guys playing 2 different squads of Space Marines, and I was proper nervous. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh God, what do I do? And then, as Dan will attest to this, he was like sort of standing there, sort of we were trading off ideas of what we should do strategically. And then, sort of all of a sudden, went, "Oh, it's XCOM. I'm basically playing the CPU part of XCOM, where I just need to flood the map with monsters." And once that clicked in my head that's what I was doing, like, absolutely got really, really into it. But yeah, it was amazing. You'd love it, Ali, mate. It was like there was a couple of times I was sitting there going, "Oh, Ali, I'd love this." Like, it's just right up the street.
Yeah, it's the thing with board games though. It's such a hassle to set up and put away, and you can play the video game equivalent in half the time just because it takes away the physical aspect.
Exactly. We had like the equivalent of like a ping pong table, like covered in these massive plastic kind of pieces, making up corridors and doors and stuff. So I
take it he'd painted everything like very lovingly as well. Or?
Yeah, it was all beautiful, like painted miniatures and stuff. And
he's even made his own custom like pieces. Is that right?
Yeah.
For the actual game itself.
Oh, it was insane, and it was just like the most spoilt you could be for like playing your first board game, like just going in and having the best of everything. It's like walking into a Ferrari showroom and going, "Oh, here's your first car." It's like,
yeah. So like, were the guys you were playing with quite experienced then, or were they also like the noobs?
They'd played it before. I don't think they'd played it like as intensely as some of the other guys there. But yeah, like sort of, yeah, it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. But like 3 hours later, and I was still there, like literally throwing monsters at people at one stage. But it was brilliant. And now I'm trying to find a copy of it for myself to sort of play at home.
Do you think you can really be bothered though? I mean, not to buy it, but just to play it, get it set up and get the people around.
Well, see, this is the thing, is like I got really into Wrath of Ashardalon, and so I bought that D&D box, and it's not that dissimilar. So I have been known to sort of like get mates round and get involved in a game, or like at Christmas and stuff. Like with the family, they all sort of get involved in board games and stuff. So I think it'd be good for taking down there. Get me mum playing Space Hulk. That'd be interesting.
Sam, did you win? I mean, don't keep us in suspense.
That was it. Yeah, we won. The monsters won, which apparently is not the norm. Normally, like if you play it properly, the Space Marines should always prevail. So yeah,
good job.
Yeah, no, cool. That was it. Beginner's luck, mate.
The fun bit to me was watching like them plan out like this sort of real strategic move, and it was taking them like quite a long while, and they were thinking really carefully and planning it all out. And then you just on the roll of a dice just fuck it all up. Do you know what I mean?
Decimate them completely. Yeah, exactly. It was quite funny because they were supposed to all they were supposed to do was go from point A to point B, download a file, and then get back to the ship. That's all they had to do. But for some reason, they got into a very gamer mindset of, right, go into a room, clear out a room, move on to the next room, clear out a room. Whereas if they'd have just rushed straight forwards to where they needed to get to and rushed straight back, I'd have had no chance of catching them because of where my entry points were into the, like, I had 4 entry points onto the map, so I could only ever bring in a certain amount at a certain amount of time. So if they'd have rushed through the middle and rushed back, they'd have won quite easily, but they didn't. And it was just interesting to see that kind of, video gamer mindset and the board gamer mindset sort of clashing.
Also, maybe that XCOM mentality where you don't want to lose any men.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about collateral damage. They're not pieces on a board. These are Space Marines.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and we need to keep as many alive as we can.
Yeah, these are real people, and I really care about them.
Like,
yeah.
I probably, if I'd have been on their side, I probably would, as you say, like, just throw enough at it to have broken through, because I could see that would have probably got the task done quite quickly.
Yeah.
But again, you probably would have had strategies that you could have worked against that Giles, like you having not played it before, I'm guessing Giles would have said, you could always consider...
He was doing a lot of that. And to be fair, he was a really good... Because there's no sort of real DM in a game of Space Hulk, but he was playing that kind of role as the kind of outside observer and kind of throwing in a few choice phrases that you kind of either picked up on or you didn't pick up on and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was excellent to have around, playing that game. It really helped out immensely for me.
I was really daunted by it, and if he brings it next year, I'd really love to have a game of it.
Yeah.
But it's so daunting for... Do you know what I mean? I find board games are really not off-putting. I like the card games. Do you know what I mean? But it's when it's all these sprawling pieces that it just seems like, I think I said this before as well for Dorka Batuza, but it's just a set of arcane rules that it's am I ever going to need this again? And I know that's not the point. And again, that's entirely not...
Can I take this and use it on another game and another time I play it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, the rules are so intransferable in the very complex games.
So I was going to say a similar thing. I find board games incredibly daunting, but from the other aspect of, normally when you're playing it with someone whose game it is, and they know all the rules, and especially in that situation, it was a lot of people who've played this game a million times before, and I just feel that crippling thing of, if I make a move, they're all going to be standing there judging me and knowing, whereas that was nice, and that was kind of nice having Giles there, because he was able to kind of
watching your back,
watching your back, and you never felt that way. But it's
also, I feel like I'm ruining their game if they if I'm a noob playing it and they all know what they're doing. It's oh man, I'm making this game take 4 times as long as it should actually take. Because to you guys, you are the AI in a tutorial now. Do you know what I mean? I kind of feel like I don't want to... you look like you're having such fun, and I'm going to ruin this if I come and sit there and you have to explain everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel like you're imposing on their fun.
But again, Space Hulk feels like not a more simple set of rules. Not by any means. It's a very complex set of rules, but again, they're almost transferable in that it's just strategy skills, really, isn't it? So Giles, book me in for next year for a Space Hulk game.
Excellent. But really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and it was so strange. Kind of after we sort of finished with the room we had and stuff, and we all sort of decamped to the hotel bar. And then all of a sudden, board games and Cards Against Humanity was kind of broken out just in this, hotel bar. And it was just so odd, because we'd all be sitting there playing these games, and it was so normal and natural. But then you get the rest of the hotel residents just come in and sit down around us and wondering what all these weird freaks were doing.
Well, there were both hen parties and wedding receptions there that night as well. So there was an odd mix of people.
Yeah, it was just the oddest thing in the world. I took a picture of it, and it was just right, okay, so you got the hen party all dressed up, and then the wedding party all dressed up over there, and they're all looking at what we're doing. What are you doing? This is so strange. Yeah, it was really, really weird, but really cool at the same time.
Oh, and I tried playing Carcassonne. Well, myself, Majin Willie, and Jay Stokes were up quite late on a Friday night. And,
quite late?
Well, yeah, at 3:45 in the morning, right? Jay Stokes, after many quite strong ciders, says, "Let's play Carcassonne." And we was like, no, it's 3:45 in the morning, man. This game takes a long while. Jay's like, I don't care, we're playing Carcassonne. And then gets out all the pieces and we start playing it. Then Jace kind of forgets that we're playing Carcassonne and stands up and walks over to the kettle and just kicks all the pieces out the way. Then we put it all back together, and then we all kind of forget that we've been playing it and end up playing other things. And went to bed because it was 3:45 in the morning. Also, another game I played, man. Chazzy, you'd like this. Probably like it in The Office, weirdly. Right. It's called Space Team. Fine. Now, that's it's one of those generic names, isn't it? We've had them come up all sorts of times. Space Team.
Man of Death.
But it involves 4 iDevices.
Oh, right. Is this the one where you shout out different,
tasks that you have to do.
And stuff. Yeah.
Undo the wibble and, stuff like that. And you have to, spin dials and move switches and stuff.
Yeah, and, so it's a bit sort of Star Trek-y, where each one, one's a science officer, one's a, on whatever, got the helm or whatever. And then, like you say, you shout out move the wibble, and then someone's got to search out on their iPhone that they've got the wibble switch and they flick it or whatever.
And I think it would be a lot more fun if... Well, actually, it's quite fun drunk, to be fair. But it would probably be more fun if you could actually, like, read what was on the screens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But, yeah,
better on your iPad.
Yeah, but it's a good sort of like, I suppose office time waster would be the best way to put it, or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
excellent.
Or, for just a night out, even in a pub, it might work, or a party, that kind of thing. Like, it's just something weird to do that's fun, and you can play it across like all your iDevices.
And quite social as well, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
I will freak out bystanders and people listening in. Yeah.
That's part of the fun, thinking of the people in the hotel room upstairs when we were playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like shouting like the weirdest stuff at each other. Like
grab the shaft.
Yeah, what? Exactly. Like wiggle the stopcock. Wiggle the stopcock. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what we played at GPLEX, man.
Yeah, man.
What have you been doing while we were there?
Well, I've got all lonely, didn't I? Missed you guys. Yeah. So I've been trying to console myself by getting back into FIFA, which I guess I won't talk too much about. It's quite boring, and I'm hooked. So what can I say? Although, the mode I play the most is like Online Be a Pro. That's like the 11v11 co-op. The team I play for, it's a bunch of guys I met at the official PlayStation forums a few years ago. We've now officially won every league and every trophy which exists in FIFA 13.
Excellent.
So we're quite chuffed about that. It's taken about 6 months, and yeah, that's us won everything. I think it might be almost us finished with FIFA 13 until next year's now.
Just in time for 14.
Oh yeah. Real sense of completion about, yes, we are, the online champions. Although we're not really, because, hundreds of teams have won it and what.
No, they haven't. You're the best in the world ever.
Exactly. And then also got back into Football Manager a bit, which again I'm going to save mainly for another time, because I'm hoping to go into it quite in depth, not just about the stories that happen, but even the mechanics, because once you've played it for a while, you sort of see through the illusion that it tries to cast, and you learn how to exploit it a bit.
Like seeing through the Matrix, you are the one.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all green code now to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this save I've got at the moment, the year's 2043, and
the far-flung future.
Exactly. I've not lost a game for 3 seasons while having the smallest budget in the league and using a team of entirely youth academy graduates. So there's definitely a bit of me being Neo and Football Manager going on here. I can't explain it. It's like I've played it for so long, through so many iterations, that I can just see exactly what's going to happen and what to do in order for something to happen. But I'm going to go into it more in depth another time. I'm going to really think about it, and I'll have something for you. Sorry, hey, FIFA Football Manager. What
if you're Neo and you're playing football in the future, is that do you remember that Neo Geo football game where you were robots? Has it changed? Have you reskinned your game so that all your players are cyborgs and stuff?
Well, that's it. I was thinking, how has football changed? Do people have cyborg limbs and whatnot?
Yeah. Also, will this year's whenever the next Football Manager comes out, will that year's future be the same as your future, having played your version?
Or is it alternate universes?
Yeah. And also, I suppose each person's game is its own, man, that's some weird shit.
Mate,
so
you've got really deep there.
I know, but that's how interesting it's going to be, knowing Ali's story of seeing how it all works and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate.
That's going to be some good shiz.
So is that everything you've been playing then, man?
I'm happy to provide you with good shiz. Yeah, that's everything I've been playing, and you can have my shiz all day.
Superb.
Wicked, should we have a break?
Yes, mate.
Let's do it.
Break!
Bye.
Damn, mate. We haven't had any skits for the past 2 shows.
What do you mean? I've been totally skits for the past 2 shows.
No, skits, sketches, that kind of thing.
It's funny you should mention that. We just had a message come through on the AI bot's answer phone.
You have one new message. To listen to your messages, press 1. For
Hello there. This is a message for the AI bots. My name is Wolfgang Namstyle. I'm the CEO of OMFG, Outsourced Media for Games. We've noticed that your show has had no comedy skits for 2 episodes, and I'm calling to offer a solution.
Mate, it's not that European podcast outsourcing scam again, is it? I've already told you about that.
Our patented German joke-writing supercomputer uses precisely calibrated algorithms and a vast database of video game trivia to craft the finest geek humour possible.
And I'm not being funny, but German jokes, they're not exactly known for their sense of humour.
I quite like German jokes, actually.
Well, even if the jokes are alright, people are going to know that it wasn't us.
He's got a point, Dan. They'll never sound like us.
And the Grumbleweeds. We use the finest voice actors available in Europe, so that even your most dedicated listeners will be unable to tell that it is not the three of you talking. If you'd be interested in an obligation-free test skit...
They'll seldom do us a free trial. What have we got to lose?
Alright, as long as it's free. But don't say I never told you so.
Thank you very much, please. Goodbye.
Knock knock.
Who is there?
Bioshock.
Bioshock who?
Buy your chocolate cake and get a cookie for free. I say. My Geodude has no nose.
How does he smell?
Being a rock-type Pokemon, he has no olfactory senses, and stone has no aroma to speak of, so I'm not entirely sure what you mean in either sense of the word smell.
Why are Metal Gear Solid fanboys like reluctant jockeys?
I am not knowing. Why is this?
Because they dislike Raiden. Why was 6 scared of 7?
Because Final Fantasy VII heralded the end of the cartridge era, of which Final Fantasy VI was a prime example.
Knock knock.
Who is there?
Doctor?
Doctor who?
No! Dr. Mario!
Why, allegedly, is the new Xbox allegedly like a broken watch, allegedly?
We do not know!
Because, allegedly, the second hand won't work. The blacksmith has escaped our dungeon full of JRPG stereotype characters.
How do you know it was the blacksmith?
He made a bolt for the door.
How does the Sega tell you to eat your greens?
I am not sure. How does Sega tell you to eat your greens?
Choo-choo rocket! How does one prevent Sonic from getting a suntan?
You must tell me. How can one keep Sonic from getting the suntan?
A Shadow the Hedgehog.
What's black and white and red all over?
What is black and white and red all over?
The European box art for Resident Evil 4 on both the GameCube and PlayStation 2. Other regions and formats vary. How does a two-dimensional dog from a rhythm action game stop his sweets getting furry in his pocket?
I do not be knowing this.
Perhaps with a rapper.
How does Batman's mom tell him his dinner is ready?
I do not know this.
Dinner, Batman.
Actually, this is a false question. As any fan will tell you, his parents died when he was a child, but I would imagine, hypothetically speaking, she would contact him via the in-ear communicator from Arkham Asylum, or maybe even just a simple text message. How do Obama and Joe Biden settle their differences in World of Warcraft?
How do they do this?
PvP.
Why did Dom from Gears of War's wife get cold at night?
Why did the Dom's wife from the Gears of War get cold?
He always took cover.
Why do people still enjoy playing the unicycle racing game Unirally on the Super Nintendo?
Why does people still play the Unirally?
Because it's not too tired.
What is Liu Kang's favorite drink?
What is his favorite?
Martel Cognac.
Why did the local area networking engineer quit Gearbox Software?
Tell me.
He was bored, Olans.
Why does blood drip down Dracula's walls?
I am unsure. Why does blood drip down Dracula's walls?
Because the castle's veinier.
Why don't waterfowl go to the Sony Christmas party?
Why is this?
Because Crash banned a coot.
Why doesn't Jason Rubin drink Strongbow?
I do not know. Why does he not drink this?
He prefers Darksiders.
How did Agent 47 get from the cliff top to the sea below?
How did Agent 47 get from the cliff top to the sea below?
Hitman, Abseil Ocean.
Which action platform game star owns the most French cars?
Please, do tell me.
The Prince of Persia.
What sandbox game did Jesus' disciples play in his boat on the Sea of Galilee?
I do not know. What game is this?
Saints Row.
Why is the first portal like Ricky Butcher of EastEnders?
I need to know, why is the first portal like Ricky Butcher of EastEnders?
They both only originally came in the orange box. Why did the frog cross the road?
I do not know why Frog did cross road.
Because Konami needed a simple and recognizable sprite in a color that would stand out from both the black road and the blue water sections.
Why does Kazhirai sometimes have uneven stubble?
Tell me, why is uneven stubbliness?
A ridged razor.
See, I told you they'd be rubbish.
Actually, I thought those jokes were just as good as our usual standard.
Fuck off.
They might be alright for Kirby's Christmas Cracker, but can we not just do the skits ourselves next time?
Yeah, suppose
Yeah,
so.
cool.
Yeah.
And we're back. And in tribute to last week's announcement of Gran Turismo 6, we're going to be putting the Gran Turismo series in the Hall of Fame.
Excellent.
Now, it's one of your faves, isn't it?
Yes, mate. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this for weeks.
And also, that's true. We'd actually been planning putting Gran Turismo into the Hall of Fame. And then it turns out that GT6 got announced last week, so...
Yeah.
It's a bit of a boon for you,
it forward. Yeah, exactly.
Chazzy's dreams coming true all at once.
I know. I'm sitting here like a puppy. Like, come on, quicker, go. Want to go out. You know.
Have you got like a hotline to Polyphony Digital, like that tell you like when they were like, yeah, we're going to be announcing it in a month or so.
Yeah, it's like the bat phone. Yeah, it sits there and it just glows every now and then.
The Chaz phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So GT6, we don't really know much about it yet, other than that it's got 1,200 cars, which is the most the series has seen. It's fluctuated over the series. Sometimes it's gone up, sometimes it's gone down. But we're going to cover that, and we're going to do it in two parts, because when we got to planning this, GT4 is such a beast of a game. Do you know what I mean? It's huge. The most ambitious driving game that was seen to that date, would you say, maybe?
Oh, yeah, totally. But
other than maybe the Simbin games on the PC. But that's an entirely different species. PC Sims are a different thing. Rather than a kind of,
and those kind of iRacing type things. They're the only things that come really close where they're incredibly sim. Yeah.
And these are console experiences, so we're going to split it into two, and this week we're going to do 1 to 3, and then next time we're going to be covering from 4 and 5, and where the series is going to go in the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, hopefully by then, as we heard earlier, the next Xbox has been announced, so we might even know by then something about the next Forza. So, so we're going to include that as well and talk about the future of sim games. Now, although we're going to be covering the main games in the series, there've actually been 13 of them. So when we say GT6, we kind of mean GT 13 and a half, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's a hugely successful series. It's sold over 60 million copies worldwide. That's across all the platforms, obviously. And it's the highest selling PlayStation exclusive series, which that's kind of surprising when you think of some of the big things they've got. Like, say, I think God of War over the re-releases would have covered that, but clearly not. It's
no. Well, that's the thing. It's such a kind of open to all experience. You know, you haven't God of War has always been mature and stuff, so that kind of gates out a lot of people.
I was just going to say, I mean, driving, it's accessible to everyone. Everyone can relate to it. It's certainly family friendly, so it's going to sell more than Kratos, stabbing a bunch of Greek gods.
Yeah, I mean, we're not all Greek mythology graduates, are we? So.
No, definitely not.
Also, another thing, Chazzy kind of alluded to there, is that this game has kind of brought in a new market almost for the PlayStation brand. All the way back to the 90s, where I remember seeing this in, say, was it Maxim and Loaded, I think it was featured in at the time, where you wouldn't usually see games in those publications at the time. I mean, nowadays they've got review sections, as has everyone, but...
It's very part of that forefront of kind of pushing games as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was, very, very much one of the games that kind of, that and Wipeout and... that whole sort of PlayStation 1 branding at the time.
Yeah, bringing games into nightclubs and showing them off to people in their mid-20s.
Totally. Yeah.
Also, it sort of played into the Cool Britannia movement, really, didn't it? Especially over here. I know Gran Turismo isn't a British series by any stretch, but Sony's PlayStation brand was kind of, I guess they were trying to take that Sega market of being the cool outsiders rather than the sort of nerd enthusiasts. Do you know what I mean? And so it brought in people that were just into cars that didn't play games, people that your usual Top Gear fans. Do you know what I mean? A lot of those will buy into the Gran Turismo series, and we get people that play COD or FIFA, and that's their only game. And I think that happens with Gran Turismo as well. Would you say?
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, absolutely. The amount of people I know who are petrol heads who go to car meets and go to sort of speedway events and raceway events and meet up with their mates in a car park somewhere and look at each other's. I was going to say look at each other's rims, but that would be that would be more like dogging.
Man.
Exactly. But no, those type of people who just are so happy getting underneath the bonnet of their car and tweaking their engine. this actually gave them something to. Like,
You're not making it sound any less dogging by that, man.
No, exactly. but these series of games really did give them the petrolheads something to like latch onto, and sort of while in the dark months they could tweak away to their heart's content on their cars in their PlayStation, basically.
That's it. It's like someone playing FIFA. I mean, the people who are into cars who play Gran Turismo, they'll never have the chance to drive these things in real life, just like I'll never have the chance to be Lionel Messi. You know, I think it really tapped into that demographic.
Kind of a dream fulfillment type of game. Like, I suppose like Animal Crossing is like that for some people. I suppose Imagine Babies or Imagine Babysitting is that for some people. Do you know what I mean? So, GT1, the first one, came out in Japan in 97 and in the West in 98. But I don't remember hearing about it before the Japanese release, really. Like, maybe it was heard of in Famitsu and magazines like that in the East. But I didn't know about it until import copies and import reviews started being printed in magazines. But it was actually started work on 5 years before that, like in the second half of 1992. So, like, this is a long time before the PlayStation even existed. Like, I wonder if this was like being worked on for the SNES CD PlayStation at the time or something. You never know, do you? But in those early stages, there were only like 7 and 15 people on the team between those numbers. So, like, when you see how many people are working on it today, like, it obviously wasn't a real serious thing.
Even the credits of it when it initially came out, I mean, it's certainly a bigger team than 7 and 15.
You'd imagine, like, it's one of those things where he said to his bosses, look, on my lunchtime, can I try and work on this, like, driving simulation? It'll be the best one ever, I promise you. It'll be the most realistic driving simulation that's ever been seen. I want to simulate the tyres being on the road. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, if you do it on your lunch, we really don't mind. Now, it might sound like I'm joking about him working on it on lunch times and, like, putting all his own time into it. But, I'd say he's the godfather of the series, Kazunori Yamauchi. When he was asked how difficult it was to make the game, this is one of his quotes. He says, "It took 5 years. In those 5 years, we could not see the end. I'd wake up at work, go to sleep at work. It was getting cold, so I knew it must be winter. I estimate I was home only 4 days a year."
Jesus.
When Gran Turismo was released it's crazy, isn't it? Like, but we all know the stories about crunch development. But as I say, this was a 5-year project. So it was obviously a torturous development for like those 7 people who started out, and I guess are still probably with the series now. Do you know what I mean? But at the time, they were just part of Sony Computer Entertainment. Like the Japanese branch, they weren't even credited as a separate entity. It wasn't until the run-up to Gran Turismo 2's release that they actually became known as Polyphony Digital, which is how we know them today.
They sort of got formalized into that name.
Yeah, I think it's when development teams were being given more credit worldwide, I suppose. People were getting to know the people behind the games rather than the publishers.
Okay.
And I think it was a move by Sony to do that with their Japanese entity as well. So, yeah. But yeah, it went to like new senses of realism. Like, that's why it took 5 years. He was trying for something like, it may have sounded like a joke when I said about the tyres on the road, but that was literally his belief behind the game, is that if you make the car in the game the right weight and the relationship between tyres and road right, then it's going to feel real.
Yeah.
Like,
if everything has the right physics and the right weight and you can translate that through the controller in your hands, then it's just everything's gonna feel right, and you'll know, you know, and no one can ever question that it's wrong because it is the real serious physics of the real world.
He makes it sound so simple, doesn't he? I mean, just make it feel right, and
make it right, and it will be right.
Simply emulate all real world physics, and it will feel quite realistic.
Yeah, funnily that.
But it also came down to, like, he believed that the sound had been disappointing in previous driving games, so they got a rolling road, like, you know, when they put a car on, like, rolling little blocks, and recorded the sounds of the exhaust of, like, all the different cars within the game. So, yeah, they went to real extremes to make what they called the real driving simulator. One thing that I found difficult with playing the game, though, was the license tests. Now, maybe this is because I don't drive in real life. I found this sort of off-putting, but it was, I like the idea that it's a game that makes you earn your right to play it.
Yeah.
Now, did you find that easy, Chazzy, being like a driver yourself?
Yeah, it was unusual, because I remember thinking, wow, this is like, this is going to hold a lot of people back because they're going to just be sitting there in these license tests for ages trying to get through them until, everyone's sort of being gated off from actually playing the full game.
I mean, how old were you, Ali, at the time when GT1 came out?
I was 12 years old. I played it at the time, and yeah, I can see why that might be a barrier to some people. It's like a forced tutorial that you have to complete. It wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't.
That was the whole thing with it, is that it was actually there to teach you how to actually drive, how going through a corner and hitting the apex and coming out at the apex on the other side, your entry and exit points and all that kind of stuff. It was really teaching you how to race.
Even
how
just where it was,
basically.
like accelerate for 600 meters
exactly.
and then brake and stop in the designated area.
Yeah, but if you couldn't get your head around that, then you were just completely screwed. And it was.
But the problem I found with that is that there were faster ways to take a corner than by taking their driving line.
Yeah.
It was at the point where you realised that, hang on, like yours might be theoretical physics, but it doesn't work within the game you've built.
Yeah.
So I found myself trying to sort of
game the system.
But then if you're not following their line, you don't pass the test. I thought, well, if you get to the end and you've beaten the time, you'll be all right. And it's like, oh no, you didn't follow the green dotted line or whatever for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But again, I suppose over the years they've refined that so that their system works better with expectations and physics, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the original one doesn't have quite as many licensed cars from the West. I suppose would you say that's obvious from it?
Yes, it's sort of understandable. And also, at that time, licensing cars, the brands, was very, very difficult to do. There wasn't a system set up for that. It was just a matter of hoofing it down to your local sort of Aston Martin dealer, and then hoping that they will pass your information on and, you could get a meeting with them to actually, put you in the game. There was no kind of like marketing managers and stuff like that. It was very early days in the whole sort of computer
licensing
games.
Of anything, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly. Licensing of anything. So,
like previous to this, we got pop tunes used in like Amiga games.
Yeah.
That, I know we've spoken about the licensed ones before with like Betty Boo and like the Rhythm King stuff.
Yeah.
But you used to get versions of pop tunes in games that weren't licensed or anything. They were just like a rip-off.
No, exactly.
So yeah, it was all early days. Also, Gran Turismo at the time, I suppose, wasn't an established series. It's easy to look back and say, they could have got more licenses, but this was the first one. Like,
no, exactly. And also there's that whole sort of Japanese thing of pushing Japanese culture to the forefront because they are Japanese,
Yeah, and also it was made for selling in the domestic market.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can see that in the soundtrack. Like, I remember over here, a big deal was made of the licensed tunes that were in the soundtrack,
Yeah.
There was like Ash and Garbage, and there was
Garbage, David Bowie, even Blur, Placebo,
yeah,
Stereophonics.
Over the series, there's been loads. Yeah, like I think Stereophonics was in the second one, but again, all these tunes came only for the Western releases. In Japan, they've got sort of your typical. I hate to say typical Japanese driving game music, but I hope that gets across what I mean. Like, you get your jazz fusion for the menus, and then sort of hard rocking instrumental guitar for the driving bits.
So it's quite interesting that well, I know we're not going to talk about 4 at the moment, but like sort of 4 and 5 sort of introduced that jazz stuff back into it for the Western releases.
Yeah, so I suppose, once one thing becomes cool, I suppose gamer culture by then was cool, so it was kind of nice to have what was part of the original release that we never got.
Yeah.
And, so over here, I remember that's part of the reason why I bought into it, I think, was the whole Cool Britannia, it's got all this indie music on the soundtrack, and was sold into it from, again, a different angle to the driving game,
Yeah, exactly.
So, also, a lot of the tracks are from Sony Records. In fact, I'd imagine 100% of the tracks are from Sony Records. So they've obviously used their corporate clout and their like musical connections to get it all together. Like, say, Moby was used in Gran Turismo 2. Now, this was the year that the Play album came out. That was a huge breakthrough album for Moby.
Yeah.
I remember, like, my mum was well into it, and my auntie was well into the Play album. It like sold to all these other markets. Yeah. So they were obviously like using the GT games to promote music that they wanted to get out as well. I think we see that ever more to this day. Do you know what I mean? Things being used.
But this was one of the first series, like other than the Wipeout series, it's one of the first series to really promote that idea of sort of Trojan horsing stuff into other media.
Like cross promotion. Yeah. It's smart stuff. And it's where we stand today. Although I suppose it probably led to EA Tracks, which a lot of people won't remember fondly. No. But again, that's for another episode. We're putting that in the Hall of Shame one day.
Yeah, mate.
Now, the game was well received publicly and critically. I remember, like I say, everyone was talking about it when it came out, weren't they?
Yeah, it was like sort of the big talking point, like one of the big games. You know, when you see in end of year lists of like people talking about games, and it was kind of, you know, one of the top 3 or 4 on everyone's list at the time.
I mean, I said earlier I was 12 at the time, and everyone was talking about it in the playground and at school. You know, it's like, oh, have you played Gran Turismo? It's so realistic. We are 12 and we can drive. Way.
Exactly, that was the thing. It was so head and shoulders above anything else that you'd ever seen, because everything else before that had been kind of Outrun and Lotus Esprit Challenge, and it was all sort of pixely sprite based type stuff, or like Ridge Racer and stuff like that. It was all arcadey. And then to have this game that, you know, the only game that would ever even come close to that, I'd imagine, is like sort of Hard Driving, where it was like Hard Driving was trying to make you drive properly as a proper car, but then do like loop the loops and stuff. But
again, it had weight and physics to it,
exactly,
which you didn't usually see.
It took from Hard Driving to Gran Turismo for someone to actually hit something that was fun, but also had all the, like you say, had all the physics and had actual proper driving thought behind it, you know? Theory, that's the word I'm looking for.
So, obviously, the game was a huge success, and there was going to be a sequel. But I don't think anyone realised quite how fast the turnaround would be, but I suppose if they worked on the overall engine for 5 years and carried on doing that through the process, then by 1999 they've been working on it for 7 years. And
again, it's something that they're showing now with the new 6, obviously, is just taking the engine and then refining it for another version.
Yeah, it's very much an iterative series, isn't it, I suppose?
So we're in a kind of there's a lot of parallels between GT1 and 2 and sort of GT5 and GT6 at the moment.
And also 3 and 4, where 1 and 3 and 5 are almost your sort of prototype stages.
Yeah, totally.
But again, with 13 in the series, there's also been points in between all of those. Again, that's why we split this down into 2 parts, because it gets really, really incestuous and deep, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
We ended up getting Gran Turismo 2 in 1999, and this time it was made even more accessible because you got 2 discs. One was the simulation mode, which was basically what Gran Turismo 1 was. And then on the other disc, you got an arcade mode, which kind of simplified the physics a little, and
you weren't locked into the license tests and stuff in the arcade.
You could jump straight in and do races with cars, and that was fine. That's
See, this was the one that I played at sort of a trade show at Earl's Court, and ended up like sort of me and my cousin on this just demo unit for hours and hours and hours, just obsessed with it. And it was the game that really made me fall in love with the Gran Turismo series. Like, obviously, Gran Turismo 1 was wonderful, but being able to split screen it with my cousin and like just sitting there, and we'd just sit there for days, you know, like not eating, not moving, just glued to the screen, playing, like just racing each other, and just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Tell you what, one thing I haven't mentioned is the replays, which again, if you've done a race with your mates, to be able to watch that back after you've just beaten someone, or having to watch it back having lost. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a big part of the game's appeal. And the fact that it adds filters and like cleans up the textures, because it's not doing the work on the actual simulation anymore. That's all recorded data, so they can throw a bit more at the graphics and make it, quotes, photorealistic.
And is it one of the reasons that we get so many replay features now in modern games?
Oh, definitely. Like that whole, when you see screenshot threads in forums where people want to post the prettiest screenshots, I think that all started from Gran Turismo.
Right.
Like, do you remember in magazines where people used to send in like their pictures that looked most realistic I remember happening for like 2, 3 and 4 at least, and it must still happen today.
Sort of a reason you now have photo mode in 5.
Yeah, it's expanded into that as well. Also, it had rally mode, which at the time really excited me. I thought, oh, it's going to be like getting Sega Rally for free. No, it wasn't quite that. It wasn't quite that. But did you guys enjoy playing that mode? Like,
yeah, I mean, I enjoy playing all of it, to be honest with you. That's like that's a silly question for me. I enjoy playing all of it. But,
yeah, and the rally stuff doesn't stick out in my mind in particular.
No,
I remember, I think I was playing Toka at the time, you know, you didn't...
The thing was, it was a reaction to kind of, like, Colin McRae and V-Rally and all that kind of stuff was very popular at the time.
Yeah, it seemed like a token gesture, but at the time, I think... Yeah. I was almost going to say it suckered people into buying it, but it probably did, but in quite a clever way, and maybe turned them onto a different kind of game. So, like, not that it's a bad thing at all. Now, it wasn't all plain sailing though for the release of Gran Turismo. Like, it had everyone was clamoring for it, and the magazines had been like real hyped for it as well. But there was a bit of a problem. It was found out that you couldn't actually get 100% completion.
No.
Now, they had a way around this where you could send in your simulation disc. And they'd send you another one back. I suppose an early version of like patching.
Yeah, because the reason like you couldn't actually get 100% is that it's been kind of rumored that they were going to put drag racing into GT2, but then took it out. But unfortunately, all the hooks for the 100% completion were still left in for the drag racing.
Yeah, so you still needed to do it even though you couldn't play it.
Yeah. So you had to send your disc back to then obviously get the revised disc to then play it.
And it's worth mentioning that it was spotted quickly and it was re-released with like little changes here and there to make it work.
So if you do have that and you can't 100% complete it, you've got an incredibly rare version.
Yeah, oh wow. It'd be interesting to see if there's a massive difference on eBay. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You can have the crap one or the fixed one, but the crap one's like 500 quid. Now, there were a lot more cars in this one. There were about 4 times as many cars as the first game, and a lot more Western licenses. I remember one thing that, again, I don't know if this was a reaction to, say, Driver, maybe, but there were a lot more muscle cars in there.
Yeah.
I remember, like, GT2 being a lot of throwing the weight into corners.
Oh, I would also imagine that was probably a reaction to the fact that it went down so well in the US. Because normally you find that adding muscle cars is kind of a reaction to get more US sales.
Yeah. If you haven't got your like 70s Ford classics, they're not going to look at it. Like.
No, exactly.
Also, I suppose it makes the replays look more exciting when you've got these like big hefty
wavy
things,
cars
going into
around,
like slides. And again, it got great critical reception and great commercial success. Like everyone loved it, and it was I think it was a huge leap from the first one. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, it was a massive leap from the first one. You know, sort of not as night and day as it was maybe from 2 to 3, but yeah, it was yeah.
See, it's interesting.
I just remember it having like, you know, say twice the amount of tracks and different options, and you could do the tracks in reverse. It was just there was a lot more options there. Certainly, you know, it didn't get any better graphically, but it was a leap forward.
And also, there was more to do under the hood, I suppose, for, like, they realised that there was a market of petrol heads that didn't have games like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, more tweaking and more of all that sort of stuff, which we'd see come even further into play in Gran Turismo 3.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like trying to, trying to get the petrol heads even more was, like, the fact that, like, early runs of the discs came with, like, a scratch and sniff sticker on the front of the CD. So if you scratched it, it actually smelt of burning rubber. That's like that's a little bit much.
Also, I've seen a lot of people say it smells of farts. Like, but I suppose burnt rubber. I suppose they were close. They probably just bought a load of the old fart stinky stickers from the 80s. Like Sony had a load of them in a stock room somewhere. They were like, "What can we do with these? Can we print them with like Gran Turismo?" Yeah, that'll do.
Well, like, I mean, you're saying it was scratch and sniff. I mean, surely if you put that into the console and played it, then the heat of the console might, you know, make that smell fill up your room even.
Yeah,
good thinking,
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely.
Especially with the lens read problems that you got with the first PlayStations where you had to turn it upside down.
Exactly.
Maybe that's going to heat it even more. Like, it's basically a grill. It's like cheese on toast, but with a disc.
I'll have to try it out because I've actually got one of these. So, I'll have to find out.
We'll have an update next show on that.
You know, my missus will find me hunched over my PlayStation, sniffing it and wondering what on earth I'm doing.
You've got like this weird Sony crack pipe in your front room.
Exactly. Darling, what are you doing? Nothing.
Now, Jazzy, you were saying like there's a massive leap between 2 and 3. Now, although there's the leap generationally between the PlayStation 1 and 2, there's a bit of a weird thing with GT3 that
Right.
At first, they were going to bring out a game called Gran Turismo 2000 on the PlayStation 2. Now, it was hyped as a launch title, which didn't happen, but it was shown off at E3, and it was going to be like basically Gran Turismo 2 for the PlayStation 2.
Right.
But it ended up being so long in development. They kept adding more cars, trying to get it closer and closer to that original experience, but which they obviously spent 7 years on. But with this, they were trying to hit the launch of a console. And that game never happened. So all of the work that went into that ended up being what we now know as GT3, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. So, yeah, so GT3 is kind of GT2.5.
Okay.
Or in some ways, 1.5, because there's only 150 cars. Well, slightly over 150 cars, which is obviously like going back to the number of the first game.
But yeah, and I think that was also there was a situation where sort of it was more difficult for them to model the cars for the new system. So
yeah, I think I remember at the time they were saying it was taking like one man like a good few days to just create one car.
Exactly. So they had to limit the amount of cars to get it out in any kind of reasonable time.
Yeah. I can see that, but then there were about the same number of cars in this cut down demo that was shown at E3. Yeah. So it's kind of like they took this demo and thought, actually, no, we'll work on this, especially if they knew they could put out GT4 a few years later once, they have the performance analyzers for the PlayStation consoles, which were hugely successful we didn't mention this, but GT1 and GT2 used this, package that Sony had called a performance analyzer, which will tell you how much of the console you're using. So, like, they were getting up to, like, using, say, double the amount of processing power that they could have done if they hadn't have used it. Do you know what I mean? They could see holes and fill those gaps. And so, I suppose 3 was a stopgap almost, and then 4 years later they could do 4, which we'll come to next time. But they still seemed to really throw a lot at this stopgap measure, GT3 is a huge game.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is also, like, by this time, they've had the critical success of 1 and 2. Everyone's all over it. And then, like you say, they've got to throw a lot at GT3 to make it as impressive as physically possible.
Yeah, especially with the new console at the time, the PS2, people wanted to see what they could do with it, so...
This, I mean, they're in such a short time, this was the marquee title for Sony at the time.
Yeah, I mean, people were surprised when they never showed Gran Turismo at the PS4 event, a couple of months ago. So that shows how well Gran Turismo is still thought of in circles.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, it's the first time in the series where they brought out official products to go with it, like official peripherals.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I bought the GT... What was it? I think it's not the GT4 steering wheel. There was definitely a steering wheel that came with it that I have. And, there was like sort of cross-promotion with Logitech, I believe.
Yeah. Was it one of those where you had to like shove it on your coffee table and sort of like clamp it on underneath?
Yeah, it had clamps underneath it, and sort of foot pedals, and there was a bit of force feedback in it, and it was wicked. I've just looked it up, that's why I sound a little bit vague, but it's the GT4 steering wheel.
Yeah. Now, it was designed specifically for Gran Turismo 3. Did you find it worked better with that game than with other driving games?
Yeah, it's that weird thing I have with driving games where they always are calibrated for the sticks or the D-pad or whatever it was on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
But then you use a wheel and everything's... It feels like it's half a second off because but it's not actually half a second off. It's just the fact that the physical action of turning a wheel takes longer to actually come into play.
Yeah.
So what you actually have to do is with a wheel is turn it half a second before you actually want to, so you can get through the corner quicker. So yeah, it's weird. It always felt weird with me, and that was the first time I'd noticed that phenomenon of like going from like I was like doing laps and I was like not like a second slower when I was on the wheel, and I could never understand why. And then that clicked with me that actually it's the lag of like sort of the brain to hand movement.
Yeah, like real life lag.
In real life lag. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, me and steering wheels. Weird.
See, because I always wondered because you see this with games today where they have like official Forza wheels, and I always wonder when they say designed specifically for, do they just mean designed as in we put a badge on the front, or do they actually mean the calibration is different?
No, I think they just mean it works with.
Yeah. That's probably more likely. Yeah. It's only like so we come to the bottom of that one. It's only like busting those gamer myths.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, with this one, they went a bit more mainstream on the soundtrack. Actually, that's probably not the word I'm looking for. Maybe it's just that the underground music had got more popular by then. And the one I remember that I'm thinking mainstream is there was like a remix of Lenny Kravitz's "Are You Gonna Go My Way," which
I know, mad. It was that kind of licensed music from the first couple of games had become so popular that it now became a thing in the third game, and it had to be like a really, really amazing soundtrack.
Well, you were basically getting sort of 3 CDs worth of music. Do you know what I mean? Including an awful lot of feeder.
Yeah, well.
But they've become associated with the series since, really, haven't they? Like,
it's not a Gran Turismo game if feeder aren't on it now. Or Ash. That was the other one. There's always an Ash tune.
Yeah, always a bit of Ash. And the Cardigans were a big one in GT2, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, don't even tell me.
In fact, their album was called Gran Turismo, am I right?
Right, yeah.
We don't need to double check that then. I'm not just remembering and going mad.
No, I'll tell you why I know that, because I spent so many hours coming back from clubbing, sitting down with my mates, playing Gran Turismo at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, listening to the Cardigans.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That is burnt into my brain.
Also, it's called Losing My Favourite Game, and the album's called Gran Turismo. Was this some grand scheme of this like 90s Sony hipster executive going, well, we can tie in this band with this game, and
exactly.
It does kind of work like that, though. But
totally.
I find all that stuff really fascinating. So, like, have you guys got any more thoughts on Gran Turismo 3? I mean, I only played like a few minutes of it. It was too realistic, too hardcore for me. So.
No, like I say, Gran Turismo 3 for me is just coming back from clubbing and like just getting the steering wheel out and driving till the sun comes up, basically.
Yeah.
But it's.
And for me at that point in my life, I think I was starting to lean more towards arcade racers. So I definitely had it and played it, enjoyed it, but less so than 1 and 2. I think it just caught me at the wrong time.
I remember the 24 hours races were introduced in GT3, right? The ones that you had to play a real-time 24-hour race. I remember that being a big thing for my friends after the pub at the time, where they'd go and say, no, we're gonna be up, like, we're gonna do an all-night and then all day tomorrow and do the 24-hour race. I remember it being like kind of a social experience almost. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Like I did at New Year's this year.
Yeah, and it's something that's lived through the series since, isn't it? So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something we will talk about next time.
Yeah, of course.
On the next, exactly.
Yeah, because like it's kind of almost an introduction to social gaming, but from a different side to that, isn't it? Because you couldn't do the whole 24 hours yourself. You'd need someone sitting alongside you as a co-driver, as moral support, all that kind of stuff. And it's worth mentioning that although in my mind, in my memory, it's a stopgap product almost. It has got like a Metacritic score of 95, so it was awfully well received.
Well, that's the thing is all these 3 games have all been like sort of in the high 90s, and like a lot of them are on, within the top 25 of like top 100 lists of all time and stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's other than games that have been bundled with consoles, like your Super Mario Brothers, I was going to say Altered Beast. That probably doesn't come into the list very high.
like Wii Sports.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It comes in just below Wii Fit Plus as 15th in the list of best-selling unbundled console games of all time. So
that's insane.
Yeah. And there's even more success in the GT series to come next week. So are we covered for GT for now, do you reckon? I think I've had enough of driving games for now.
Oh, GT, they are for... Well, you having said that, you probably are, but I'm not. I'm like, come on, can't we do the next one?
Exactly, you're going to carry on recording for another 5 hours and insert it in the edit.
On my own.
Yeah.
just sitting there writing notes for next week or next episode.
Now, we've had a couple of lovely reviews come in on the iTunes.
Yes.
Now, these are always a really nice surprise to get, aren't they? So if you listen to the show and you enjoy it, do send us a review because, we'll read it out. But yeah, they really mean a lot to us. It's so nice when Chazzy goes onto the iTunes stats and then sends us a text saying, "Oh, we got a new review. Like, go on and have a look at it."
Yeah.
So
it's the best. What I like, the best bit about it when we get reviews come in is seeing what other people think of what we do.
Yeah.
And how they see, how you guys see the show, because we see it from our point of view, making the show, but actually seeing it from the listener's end is actually slightly different. And it's quite funny.
I think what you're trying to say is that we think we're a bit rubbish, but then all the reviews come in and they're really, really nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, you actually think we're good. Brilliant.
So yeah, the first one came in a few days ago from Dubai Barfly. And he says, really enthusiastic gamers, funny, insightful, not irritating fanboys. The Chaz and Dave of gamers, really worth a listen. Although I think, who's Ali in this Chaz and Dave? Are you the and?
I can be Ivor Cutler. It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my god! Every podcast needs an Ivor Cutler.
Exactly.
And if you've never heard Ivor Cutler, like total tangent, go out and find the guy. Yeah, interesting stuff. And is he one of your heroes, Ali? Is he like?
He definitely is. Yeah. You can't beat his stuff. You really can't.
You aspire to be him.
Hopefully, one day.
Awesome.
If I stick with you guys, maybe.
So yeah, Dubai Barfly says the Chaz, Dave, and Ivor Cutler of gamers, really worth a listen. I probably picked up more games from listening to these guys than listening to the official podcasts. And he also, I think we'd echo this, having had a great weekend with the lads, he says, also seek out the console ninjas in the same mould. And so yeah, that's from Trev, Dubai Barfly. So yeah, thanks ever so much for that. And then there's a chap that we met at GPLEX. I think we mentioned him earlier, actually. And he sent us a review, he hadn't heard the show before until yesterday morning when, bless him, the lad, we dragged him along to Weatherspoons for breakfast. So,
exactly.
We were chatting about the podcast and he said, I'll give you a listen later. And so he has already. So thank you so much, A, for listening and B, for the review. So yeah, Chazzy, if you want to read us a review, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so he says, great podcast. They add a fantastic level of comedy with the news you want to hear. Conversations are well thought out and deep enough to explore the issues without getting so in-depth that it gets boring. The sketches are a stroke of genius and should have you on the floor laughing. 100% recommended. So that's really nice, man.
Especially as he says conversations are well thought out. Because
exactly.
when I'm here recording this, I never think my conversations are well thought out. So it's nice that they come across somehow well in the edit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if you've got a review for us, do go on iTunes and leave one. It really helps us out and it really sort of makes us go, woohoo! Everything's well.
Yeah, exactly.
We've also had a kind of review via text message from Ali's friend Keith. Now, he says, we're, quotes, good for a podcast. So, thanks ever so much to Keith that we're good for a podcast. However, we're not as good as Invisible Walls, which is one of Game Trailer's video podcasts that's been going since 2007. So,
yeah, mate.
So maybe in 6 years' time.
Yeah, sorry to bring you guys down there, but yeah.
Bring us back down to earth.
Now, we thought we'd find out, so if we're good for a podcast, but not as good as Invisible Walls, what isn't as good as us? And his response is Kingsfield 1. For any of you Dark Souls and Demon Souls fans out there.
That will make sense.
Yeah, it will. And it's... I really want to talk about Kingsfield now, but I'm not going to. But yeah, for anyone
another time, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a first-person-y RPG made by the Dark Souls people. So yeah, apparently we're better than that, which is all good. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can email at theiibots.com, or you can find us on Twitter
at theiibots,
or we're on Facebook.
www.facebook.com/theibots.
We'd love any topics you'd like us to cover. If you want to send us a question, that would be awesome, especially about the new Xbox. Or, you've heard our thoughts about it earlier in the show. So, if you want to let us know about that and how you think it compares to the PS4, we might do a special on that. Do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next time. So,
yeah, see you next episode.
Yeah, goodbye from all of us.
See ya.
See yous, bye.
Bye.
Bye.